Now let's have the arithmetic sequence be one in which the seventh term is 14 and the common difference is -2. So if we want to find out what the sixth term is, well, since the common difference is -2, that means we're adding -2 for each successive term. But going backwards would mean that we're subtracting -2. So we're going to start with 14. Instead of adding -2, I'm going to subtract -2. And that'll give me 16. To find A8, that's moving forward, and that's where we're going to start with the 14 and now add the -2, which will give me 12. In part B, it says to find out what the first term is. Well, we know what the seventh term is, and I want to think about how do we make the seventh term. And we make that by starting with the first term and adding the common difference, n minus 1 times. Well, in this case, n is 7, so we're going to add that common difference 6 times. And when we do that, we should get the seventh term, which is 14. Now it's just a matter of solving this. This says A1 minus 12 is equal to 14, so A1 must be 26. Now that we know what the first term is, as well as the common difference, we can come up with an expression for the nth term. And that will be 26 minus 2 times n minus 1. We can simplify that a little bit. It will be minus 2n plus 2, which is 28 minus 2n. In the second half of this problem, we're asked to find the sum of the first 10 terms. So we grab our formula, which will be n over 2 times first term plus last term. Now, we already know what the first term is, that's 26. And we also know that there are 10 terms in our series because we're asked to find S10. Now, the real question is, what is A10, the 10th term? So this is going to take a little bit of side work. Going back to our A sub n formula, I'm going to find the 10th term, and that'll be 28 minus 2 times 10. Well, 28 minus 20 is just 8. Now we can use this and start simplifying it. S10 is going to be 10 divided by 2, which is 5, times 26 plus 8, that's 34. 5 times 34 is 170. Finally, for the last part, we're asked to find the sum from k equals 4 up to 42 of negative 2k plus 28. Now don't get fooled and think, well, the last one had the last two answers were the same, so this one should have the last two answers the same. That's not going to be the case. Our first step is to start listing out terms. So first, plug in 4. And if we plug in 4 for k, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, plus 28 is 20. As we continue, plugging 5 in for k will give us negative 2 times 5, which is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 28 is 18. The next one's going to be 16, and so on, all the way down to the 42nd term. And if you go negative 2 times 42 plus 28, you should get negative 56. Now we have enough to actually find out what the sum is. And that sum is going to be n over 2 times first term plus last term. Well, in this series, my first term isn't 26 anymore. Now it's 20. And the last term is negative 56. Now we've got to figure out, well, how many terms are there? And remember, that comes back to the two numbers we see here. If I want to see how many terms there are from number 4 up to number 42, we're going to subtract those two numbers and then add 1. So 42 minus 4 is 38. 38 plus 1 makes 39. Now it's time for the calculator, because we're going to take 39 over 2 times negative 36. And that's how we'll get negative 702.